Saul Aronovitch, and welcome to Journey Through the Veil. In this video, I want to open up another layer, another part of the veil, at the beginning of my understanding with thought. Now, the idea of thought is quite special because we know we can't actually see thought in our hands. We can't touch it, but we know it's very much real. But do we know how much we can interact with thought, ours as well as others? We know that when we send thoughts, as we say, out there, what actually goes on at the other end? So I'm going to talk a bit about that and how I discovered what happens when my thoughts get sent to another person and they're responded to without me ever saying a word. Enjoy. I would like to share with you a bit more now how I saw the world differently. What was going on inside of me that made me think this way? Now, I've mentioned to you that I would always ask those questions of, do you see the world the way I do? And I was curious to know if they actually saw through the eyes the way I do. The perspective that we have, if they saw it the same. And the perspective that I have, even when I was young, would be to a point where I would walk to somebody, and as I opened my mouth to say a question or to just say something to them, the moment I opened my mouth, I recognized the thought that I had inside, which is, as we know, thought is much faster than the mouth, which is why we should be slowing down when we speak. But I recognized that as I was about to speak, I felt the thought send out first. And the interesting thing, because I'm normally slower in my speech, because I do like to think before I say things, the people around me don't necessarily do that. Some do, but others don't. And when I was younger, many didn't. And so the thought that I sent out, before I could actually speak the words, their thought came back with their words attached. I spoke to them in thought, and they responded in voice. And that was the first time I realized something was different. How could it be that if I wanted to speak to somebody, the thought would be sent out first, and their response, because they're quicker in their voice with their thought, is that they would actually respond? Now, I was, even more so, naturally quiet, naturally shy. And so I wouldn't say much to begin with, but I realized, though, that, wait a minute, I think I got something here. Do I even need to speak for others to respond to me? I don't. So I realized that I actually didn't need to speak in order for others to respond. It just came to me just like that. That how was it possible that when I think of something, somebody would respond? And it happens to us now. You know that. When you say, oh, I was just thinking that. That's not a coincidence. There's a real interaction happening between two people. And I can actually teach you how to do this. Back then, I had no idea. But I know now. And I'm a teacher, and I know how to do that. And as I mentioned, I'm curious. And as soon as I discovered, wait a minute, I could do this. I could send a thought and somebody's going to respond to it. Now I got something. And as a naturally quiet person, we don't really like to speak much. So if we don't like to speak, how is it that if we don't like to speak, how do we get what we need or our questions answered? So I started doing that a little bit more. And it's not that every single thought that we send out, because if that's the case, the world would be completely chaotic. If that was the case, although the world is chaotic, and there's a lot of thought that is being sent out and being received, but That's the beauty about recognizing that we actually do this. If we do this, then maybe we'll speak a little slower and think a little deeper. At that age, I didn't understand, so I would speak internally and it would be revealed. So I developed this. I'll give you a little hint at how I actually developed this. Think of a time and an event where that actually happened, where you had a thought and somebody said your thought and you said, oh, I was just thinking that. Now, in that regard, there's actually a two-way communication. So it's not always that you send the thought and the other one will respond out loud, because it goes both ways. So when that happens, be aware of your state of thought in general, of your state of emotion in general, when that happens. To be able to send a thought and have it received, you have to be in a certain frame of mind. Now, I didn't speak to many people. I was constantly in my own mind. I was constantly speaking to two eyes and not physically verbal. I would do it internally as well, and it would respond. So in order to be able to do something like that, you need to be very calm. But you also need to be very much in tune with your thoughts. But there's a danger behind this, and we see it in the world today. The world today is built up of desires, of egos, of wants and needs that are far beyond what they need. And it's so much so, and it's so much desired, and it's so much amplified that the thought is being sent with so much power that it is revealed in the world. And others receive that, and they bank off of it, and they grow with it. And there are those who rebel against it. I didn't understand any of that when I was little. All I knew was, if I needed something, I could send the thought and it would be responded. So it was very helpful for me. But again, double-sided coin. If we're not actively communicating and we keep everything inside, it ends up festering and building even more. They used to call me a time bomb, because I would explode. I would explode like there's no tomorrow, because I kept everything inside. It is definitely not a good thing to keep inside, as I mentioned about the mentor. But then I was being fueled by this idea that I can still keep things inside, but send my intentions out and they would be responded to. Trivial things. I need a question answered. A glass of water. I don't want to go to school today. And we could actually practice this, but like a hammer, it can be used to build or destroy. And so I strongly believe that the gifts we are given and the gifts that are allowed because they are fully in us and we just reveal them as we go about our activities, that they must be held sacred. When I was young, anything that I wanted wasn't really malicious, because I don't really have that malicious intent. But it allowed me to get what I needed. And I did have some trial experiences in my teenage years. I'll explain that another time. Kind of funny. No harm, really. But we are truly capable of understanding that veil that we are covered by. And for you, as you listen to these videos and as we interact further, try the exercise with your thought and see where it leads you. Be aware. So you don't have to try anything now. Just be aware when somebody says, oh, I was just thinking that. Stop yourself right there. Analyze yourself. What was I thinking? What was I doing? What did I eat? How much sleep did I get? Where was I in spirit? And in body, and in mind, and intellect, and emotion? Where was I in all these things when the moment that happened? In order to understand you, and in order to understand the veil that you are being covered by, it is important to understand how you work within that veil, to navigate through that veil. And as you do, it will slowly be revealed. And the intention isn't that you rule the world. We got enough people who think that they can. Nobody can. But it's more than enough for you to reveal your truth, to reveal yourself, to reveal your true self. And watch it amplify, watch it grow, watch it spread throughout the lands. Watch other people begin to catch on. Remember, thought transfers really fast. And the emotion and the energy that comes with that thought is also transferred. It's also transferred. So if you are aware of your thought and how it interacts with other people, you begin to be aware of how you interact with other people. And there's certain things you might stop doing or might start doing because of that. So I hope these videos have found their way into your heart, into your curiosity, into your space. And the intention for these videos, and the intention for me, as I mentioned at the beginning, is really to allow you to understand the veil that you're under. Understand for you and walk with you as you reveal your own truths, as you thin out your own veil. Here we share together as I thin out mine, and how as I've grown to thin out mine. My hope and my intention is that we do this together. And as we do it, I really encourage you, ask the questions, ask your curiosities. And together we will reveal them to make more aware of them. For our veils, even though they're independently covering each one of us, we have an overall veil that covers this entire existence. And through our collective awareness of who we truly are and what our true potential is, we have that ability collectively combined as one unique existence, that we can open it up, see the truths of us, see the truths of others, reveal the truths of others, because so much so they need to be revealed. Because as much as we cover ourselves and we see ourselves under our own veil, believe me, we are also looking at the top of other people's veils. The part that they don't want us to see. And we don't need to see theirs because we're looking in the wrong direction. We don't need to look down to see the veil that they're trying to hide in deceit. Hide to cover. We need to look up at our own covering and thin out our own so we become the whole person that we are, the whole existence of who we are, through body, mind, intellect, emotion, and spirit. Reveal your true potential. And through that, like the sun burning through the clouds, it will unleash the rays of love, unconditional love to the entire planet. Together, we can raise the awareness. And so these interactions between you and I is really to do just that, to start at our own space, our own individual veils. As we walk together and I reveal to you my veil and how I've learned to start thinning it out. Take it, leave it. I'm just sharing with you from my perspective because it's the only perspective I can give you. But through your perspective, you will see similarities and differences, and you might have questions that you're concerned about. And together we can walk through that. We are beautiful beings with such potential in so many different ways. And I do not mean just the physical here. I mean global. I mean your complete entity, who you are in the existence of existences. It can be revealed. It can grow. It can shine. And you can spread it outwards so that others may see the same, which is what we're doing here together. So this has been Journey Through the Veil. I'm Saul Aronovitch, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye for now.